What's up, good people? I hope you're doing extremely well. In this video, we're going to talk about how to maintain mental health as a YouTuber. And this is something that, let's just face it. At times, YouTube can be hard. YouTube can be a really difficult, job to do, or a really difficult, hobby, whatever you want to call it. YouTube can be a really difficult thing to do when you start to take it seriously and want to deliver a message to an audience and grow with YouTube and all those things that come along with that. YouTube can be very difficult, and on top of that, you are essentially pouring into other people most of the time on your channel, specifically if you are kind of a talking head channel such as this, or providing information around specific topics that you enjoy or that you're passionate about. Sometimes those things can be, very emotionally draining and also just mentally draining from the standpoint of having to always, fulfill those things. And especially when you start to try to deliver something on a consistent basis to an audience that you grow to have a camaraderie with and, grow to have a relationship with, that you want to continue and flourish in. So in this video, I just want to talk about some key things that we can do to combat the often overlooked issues that happen over and over again with content creators that typically lead to burnout. And that's one of the things that we try to stress on this channel, is that we want to structure things in a way or help you grow in a way that is not going to lead to burnout, because that is a huge problem with becoming a YouTuber and building a YouTube channel, for people who really start to take it seriously and, who get on this road of, wanting to achieve success with YouTube. It is a really big thing. It's a really big deal. And it is, something that can really take over your life if you're not careful. Some of the leading problems with becoming a content creator starting out is that you want to learn as much as you can and you want to put your best foot forward. So a lot of times, you're creating content in a way that is, in a learning process, and you're trying to figure things out. And at the same time, you're being told, by all these different sources that, hey, you have to be consistent, you have to upload regularly, which is the case in a lot of instances. But there are also, ways that you can, fulfill the things you need to fulfill and, grow your channel without being set up for burnout and set up for failure. And that's what we want to talk about here today. So one of the first things that you have to understand is that, this is something that you are doing. You are in control of your YouTube journey. There is no other entity outside of you, driving you to do it. For most people, there isn't. Now if you are set up in some kind of, system with another entity that is, in control of your YouTube journey, then, that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, you are in the driver's seat of your YouTube channel. When you start your YouTube journey, it's just you. It's just you trying to figure out, how to build a channel, how to, flourish at being a YouTuber, how to, do all the things that go along with being a YouTuber, such as, videography and, creating thumbnails and titles and all those things. So it's just you in that process. So you don't have to feel like you are being driven by something else, and you are in control of that. So in that regard, it is okay for you to work at your own pace. And that's one of the first things that you really have to understand, is that, you're working at your own pace. Nothing is forcing you. You're not under the gun. I mean, having said that, as you begin to build your audience, you do cater to your audience, and you do, have an obligation to your audience to produce the content that you say you're going to produce. That's all on how fast you want to grow as a YouTuber, and that's all on, what you want to accomplish with your channel. But it's okay to, communicate with your audience if you are having difficulties, or if you are at a point where, you can't mentally do some of the things that are required to fulfill the things that you've set up for your channel. It's okay for you to take a pause and say, hey, I need to take a step back and really work on myself, because self-care is real in this process of being a YouTuber. It's one of the most powerful tools that you have to kind of flourish in this, is being able to take care of yourself and not allowing yourself to get into the habit of just overdoing it, and to the point that you're hurting yourself or you're hurting the quality of what you're doing. So that's the first thing. Just take a step back when you need to, and really assess what's going on with you and figure out what your next moves are. A large part of succeeding on YouTube is really in the planning, really in understanding how to devise a plan and devise systems around what you need to do and make those things simple and work within, your life as your life is structured. That's a really key thing that really will help you combat any of the obstacles that may arise as being a YouTuber, such as fatigue and just mental strain and just all of the other things that may cause you to feel as though you're not going in the right direction, demotivation, procrastination in some instances. Really being able to combat all of those things really has a lot to do with planning and being able to plan out what you're doing around your life and the way your life is structured. So really consider that as a YouTuber, and taking your mental health seriously is a really big deal on the platform, because from experience starting multiple channels and going through the monetization process to success, I have seen it where even myself, you start a channel and you start to understand how the YouTube algorithm works and how your channels actually grow on the platform. And then you start to really throw yourself into the work, and that's okay, but it's also a danger when you aren't giving yourself that time to really rest. And understanding what you're capable of is a really big deal, because if you know what you're capable of doing, it sets you up to succeed on YouTube, because it gives you the opportunity to plan out things that you can do and not ever feel like you are at a position where it's just too much for you to handle. So really knowing what you're capable of is a really good way to create plans and create systems that will allow you to grow and fulfill all the things that you need to fulfill on the platform, but also have time to rest and have time in between. Now, I know a lot of people on the platform are just workaholics that way, and they're gonna work hard, regardless, myself included. I like to work hard at what I'm doing and be able to really, go at it and really be able to move the needle on what I'm doing with my efforts. But I've also found, and I also realized, that if you do that consistently enough without rest, it actually is more counterproductive, because you end up taking a lot of time off to recuperate when you could just work through, if you are working at a pace that is manageable for you and for your channel. Like I remember when I started one of my first channels, I was really big on making all of the videos very cinematic, and it took a lot of time. It was a lot of process in creating the videos and editing them to get them to where I wanted to be, or to where I wanted them to be released. So it was a huge lift every time I had to do a video, and I started out wanting to produce videos at least 3 times a week with that process. So you can imagine like the time commitment and just the mental fatigue and strain that was involved was a lot on me. But I learned over time that it was better for me to kind of pull back and maybe just produce 1 of those videos a week, more so than burning myself out and the diminishing returns happening. Over time the quality starts to go down because you are tired. You're tired and you're not as engaged with what you're doing. So even though you are producing volume, your value starts to decline because you get to the point of burnout. So to not get to that point, you have to be honest with yourself about what you can produce and what you can do. And that's not to say that you won't ever be able to produce that volume at some other time, but just really being honest with yourself of where you are and doing what you can and really growing from that point is a very, very important thing to do here on the platform. So I hope this was helpful to someone, and we'll see you in the next one.